Here we go. Let's kick this thing off here. Alrighty. So anyway, let me get rid of the intro stuff and get the new share up just for a second. Give me one moment. Yeah, boy, it's beautiful today. It's not going to be really beautiful here in another 3 or 4 weeks. I can tell you that. It's going to be like, woo. All right, let me bring up the PowerPoint here. Okay, so there's no outline today. There is well, there is. You're going to get a copy of the presentation. So, so you don't have to take any notes if you don't want to. Nothing. So that's kind of good, right? So you don't have to worry about that. Yes, it looks different. We now have a studio mic inside, and it's quite the setup, I have to say. You know, it's a very directional microphone. So the audio, we're doing a lot of work with audio, and so we need to the great extent possible, keep the noise out, you know, and so we do that like radio stations do by just turning the mic gain really loud, and you can get right about it if you want to, and you don't hear that stuff. It's a very directional microphone, so that's why it looks different. A bit weird on the background, but we'll fix more of that as the time goes on. So that's happening. I'm on the way to Las Vegas. I will be there tomorrow at about 11:30 in the afternoon, and I'll be to the flight school if everything goes right on timing, at least by about 1. We work out at Chunult Flying Service, which is in North Las Vegas, VGT, Victor Golf Tango. And we're going to use the big old classroom upstairs because we have a full Monty of a class. We have 20 in the class, 19 or 20. There's about 20. There's only 3 remote. The rest are in person. And there's 9 that are 141 VA, and they're probably Air Force people, most likely. That's what we get a lot of those. And then the others are our people who decided they wanted to come to Las Vegas or live in Las Vegas and didn't know about Chunult Flying Service. So it's a big class. I have Rex from, if you don't know him, Scholl from the CFI study group. He's one of the co-founders of that. And he's an amazingly talented, knowledgeable CFI from Ogden, Utah. And so he's going to help do remote. I have to have him do that for the Part 61 students. There's 9 141s, the rest are 6. So I can have him work with them. It doesn't affect anything. But in the approved course, so we have to be very careful with that. So anyway, that's what's going on there. We will, by the way, if I don't get my tongue all the time, that class will be open for half a day or so on a particular day. I have to look at the day that you can actually attend it. To see what it's like. If you wanted to always know what it's like or get an idea what it's like, you'll be able to see that. I'll show you a way to do that, how you can register. You have to register for that because we can only take, because you can imagine so many, because now we have 20. I have 20 to deal with, and and then that. And then, by the way, the next power hour we're going to do, which is going to be next Saturday, that'll be the day before the class ends, so it will be in the class, day 6, is going to be something that I find now is the weakest link in all of CFI training. Like, what is that? It's so imagine. So I joined the CFI study group to get knowledge about like where people's pain points are. Like I told you before, because where there's pain, there's money. That's what I know, right? If there's no pain, you're building something and there's no need for it. There's no pain in the market. You're not going to be able to sell it unless you're visionary and people didn't think they needed it. They didn't even know they needed it. Then you got something. So if you couldn't be a Steve Jobs, then yeah, you could make a business out of that. But otherwise, it's got to be pain. So I go there to find out what the pain in the market is, right? And so it's always the same things. It's always like, how do I make all these lesson plans? I say, don't stop doing that. And then the next thing is, now that I've got all this, they're on the lesson plan hamster wheel, I say, right? That's all they do. They think it's all self-study. I don't have to pay anybody for anything. I need to find some 2-year CFI for a sign-off, and then here I make all these lesson plans, and that's the whole thing. But then you ask them, or they say, like, how do I use them? Like after the check ride, like what do I do first or second, or like, what do you mean you do it? That's your job. Your job is to know that. So it's called a syllabus, right? And so they don't know how to use a syllabus. So, and the syllabus that exist are built to use non-FAA publications. They're used to build their own stuff. So I'm going to teach them how to use a stock syllabus. We have one of our own, and then to embed the lesson plans or what they've got into it and teach from that. So that's going to be what I'm going to do. It's going to be solving that mystery at least. So you'll be able to understand how to teach someone from 0 to private next Saturday. Okay, now let's move on to the presentation, as they say in the South. So I'm going to need to set this up correctly. So give me a second here. Yeah, here we go. I need to set up Zoom correctly. Okay, it needs to be. A lot of times, Zoom is not happy unless PowerPoint's played in a single window. So that's okay. I don't need speaker notes. So I've already gone down this road before. So this is we're going to review all of the ACSs, but the concentration is going to be on the flight instructor one. So let me step through this with you. So let's start here. I've got this and you have a exact PDF copy of this is coming your way. So hello, yes, okay. No, I'm not at Sun and Fun. Someone asked. I was going to do, but only it's too much travel. I can't, I was going to take the Bright line up 3.5 hours, then take another 20-minute Uber ride over to Lakeland and come back same day. Because, but anyway, if I didn't have to go to Vegas, I would have done that. Okay, this is the effective date, May 31st, 2024. Now, before you get all happy that you're currently, it's not May 31st yet, before you get happy about that, there's an FAA order, which I'm going to show you. It's the 8900.691 order that says that the DPE and you can use this ACS from today. You don't have to wait. You have to use it on May 31st. You can't use the PTS, but if the DPE and you, or he has to tell you, or she has to tell you, you could be subject to this tomorrow. So let's look at that while we're here. Let's just look at that thing. So you can see I've noted it here. And you don't really need a copy of it because it's, just says what it says, but I'll show it to you. So here's the 8900 right here, 8900.691 order. I said, yeah, 691 order. And if you go down to where I have it highlighted, you'll see what it says for practical test. And in particular, you can use it right away. You have to use it after this date. So don't think you may not be subject to the ACS, because you might be. That's just because if I were a DP and I had all my plans of action done, I would go ahead and use this. I like it a lot better. So, so anyway, but it takes a little bit to align the plan of action. Okay, let's go back to the presentation and now start stepping through that, because that's what you came for, I think, probably. And to hear me complain about things. I complain a lot. So my friends have told me, you complain a lot. I said, yes, I do. I really know how to do that really quite well. So I've become master at that. Okay, moving on. Let's go. So this is what it looks like. It has a date there. This is when it was created, 2023, the last version of it. It's ACS-25. That's the one we're talking about. So by the way, the coding, this means that FA, S is a standard, ACS is what it is, and 25 is the number of the sequence of it. So that's what it means. All right, significant changes. We'll look at those first. We'll take a look only at the most significant changes. So that's what I want to do first, which is here. So the first one is there's risk management now in every task. So even in the FOI, under Fundamentals Instructing, Effects of Human Behavior and Communication and Learning Process, they retitled this a little bit. It used to say Human Behavior and Effective Communication, but they put in risk management into it. So every single task has risk management. So that's one thing to note. And also they changed risk management from the last ACS in the private commercial instrument. I'll tell you what they did there when we get to those. The next thing is the FOA has some titles regrouped. Here are the ones, the rest of them say the same thing. So if you look at it, like the learning process is still the learning process, but then there's no more the teaching process. There's no more responsibilities and professionalism, aviation. There's these now. So they lumped in things together. So they have a new one, but it really is same information, but it's just lumped into a different group. Course development, lesson plans, and classroom training techniques. So that's basically chapter 7 and chapter 5 altogether of the Aviation Instructor's Handbook. Elements of effective teaching in a professional environment. That's part of the aviation responsibilities and professionalism, part's what it was. And down here is one on risk management and accident prevention. So these are new titles. And the content, there are some changes to the elements. They're not huge, but they are there. And so you need to step through those and see that you have every single element covered. All right, the next one is sport pilot and basic med inclusion. So now you're going to be responsible for understanding sport pilot regulations, sport pilot instructors, and basic med. And so that's in Area of Operation 3, Task A, Pilot Qualifications. So this used to be titled Certificates and Documents, and now it's been changed to align with the other ACSs and say Pilot Qualifications. And you can see I underlined here sport at the flight instructor levels, and then basic med is here. Also, there's something new. It says pilots must possess exercise privileges of a specified certificate or rating. So now you have to go through the documents. It wasn't there before. So there's that. Okay, stepping forward, weather theory is now included as a possibility. I know you like that, right? So now, if the examiner chooses K2, knowledge area 2, then they just need to talk about the charts and how you gathered the weather. But if they choose task K3, or not task, elements K3, then that's weather theory. It's meteorology, it's stability atmosphere, it's clouds, precipitation, all things. So it's all in there. So you need to go through that because that was not in there before. Now it's also the same. It's almost a copy paste from the private and commercial ACS that's there now. So there's nothing new in terms of if you were looking at those, but you're preparing for the flight instructor one. You didn't think you needed a weather theory, you just might. So there's that. So we're also doing something about that in our class as well. So there's that. So here's the weather theory. So you can see all this, right? Yeah, and again, you don't have to worry about all this because I mean, you don't have to worry about remembering it or say I've given you you have the PDF of this whole entire presentation. So there you go. Now, another significant change is that flight planning in this section, navigation and cross-country planning, can be electronic. It can be computer-generated now, right down here. Preparation, presentation, and explanation of a computer-generated flight plan is an acceptable option. So there you go. That's pretty good. And if you haven't noticed, ForeFlight just released their new version, or they always update it, but what they put into it was a traditional nav log. You can actually view your plan on what would be a traditional nav log that you would have done using paper. So it looks like that. So I think it plays better when you have to show a plan, as opposed to it's on my iPad. You can actually print this and say here, or show it, take a picture of whatever you want to do and say, here's my plan. Now you have a copy. So I think that plays better. I think it was designed for this purpose. One of the reasons for this purpose right here for testing. Okay, moving on ahead. Weight and balance, minor thing, has been moved into the performance limitation section. So there's no more weight and balance task. So if you were to go through the previous PTS, which I have, you'll see there was a weight and balance task. And all it says here is loading and weight and balance. Nothing, and down here, there's a few more, right? These things, these tasks right here. But anyway, that was where they moved it to. So then what does that mean for you? Not much. This really didn't change a whole lot, unless someone catches something that I didn't. And also aerodynamics is here too. It's kind of interesting. They lumped aerodynamics into this, right? So they weren't very specific about what it is either, right? So there's that. And we'll go through the risk management changes here in a second. Principles of flight now include forces acting on an airplane. That wasn't in there before. So the forces in a turn, climb, descent, straight level flight, all that. So that's now here. You can see it's in there. If you look at the previous thing, which says principles of flight, you didn't see it in there. So now you've got that. Okay. Moving on, applicants can use previously developed lesson plans from their library. So we had one DPE who wanted you to put up your lesson on the whiteboard or whatever it was, and not use your lesson plan. It's sort of to see how much of this you know in your head, as opposed to I need a plan for it. And then you could use your plan later. Well, now that's off the table. This is previously developed lesson plans from an authorized instructor may be used. So that means you can use, if you have our lesson plans in your library, you can use those. If you have the other people who make them, or if you have your own, and please don't do that. Don't make your own. We've been flying for 100 years. So the other difficulty, more than 100 years, the difficulty we have with making your own lesson plans, because you're doing it because you don't understand the content. That's why you're doing it. You're checking to see that you have the requisite aeronautical knowledge. Fix that first. You can't teach something before you know it, right? So don't think that they don't do it the backwards. Well, I'll do a lesson plan, how I'm going to teach something, and then in the meantime, I'll shore up my knowledge. It takes too long. It takes you months and months and months to do that. So take an online course, anybody's. Gold Seal, go to King Schools, go to any of that. Go through that at the commercial level, finish it, and then make, if you're going to make your own lesson plan, I guess make them. But otherwise, then you should be able to teach from anybody's because you understand the content. Okay, now, and all those people who are self-studying, please stop that, or please continue that, but get with a really good CFI who can direct you, because there are certain things you're not going to be able to teach yourself. It's just there are too many moving parts in this rating. Like some of you will know, but I'll just give you an example. So you have a glider pilot comes to you and wants to get a private pilot certificate and with airplane privileges. How do you solo that student? 80% of you will not know the answer to that. You'll say, get a student pilot together, it's all wrong, right? And that's the path you would go down if you were doing a lot of just on your own reading FARs and things. It doesn't work very well. Another thing that like that would be how do you take a sport pilot who has, or a private pilot like me, let's say you, who's a commercial pilot, and you want to get a sport pilot powered parachute. So what's the procedure for doing that? What's the training requirements? What's the testing requirements? You don't know, right? Chances are. But you need to know for the test, right? Because that could be on the table. So these are things are not for, you need a really good CFI who understands this material more than just teaching private pilots, not just 2 years and 200 hours. If that's what you got, that CFI has very, very little experience, more than that. So seek them out. Go to SAFE, go to us, go somewhere and find a really good CFI from there. Okay, moving on. But you don't have to do it for the entire thing. I'm not saying that, but it's required that you have logged, ready? For the CFI, it's the only rating that you cannot use a home studies course for. You have to have logged fundamentals instructing from a qualified instructor, the aeronautical knowledge for recreational, private, and commercial. All that has to be in your logbook. It has to be logged from an authorized instructor. So don't forget that. Slow flight, big changes here. This is a big one. So it has two methods now that can be chosen. So this is area of operation 10, slow flight stalls and spins. And the evaluator has to select task A or B. So here's the A that you know, maneuvering during slow flight. And I circled this area down here. It's what you know, establish and maintain an airspeed at which any further increase in angle of attack, increase in load factor, or reduction in power would result in a stall warning. So that's because we're teaching people not to fly on the stall warning. Because if you have that, like in the jet, if you get the stick shaker, you don't continue to fly on the stick shaker. I can tell you that. You know, that's the last thing you want to do. You want to stop the stick shaker. You want something going on. So so that's why we're not teaching slow flight like that. But if you look at the very next slide, that's the second method, and it's demonstration of flight characteristics at various configurations and airspeeds. And then so this is the objective, and it's kind of a longish thing. It depends if it's in the clean configuration or landing configuration. But if it's clean, it's the speed that which any increase in load factor or reduction in power would result in an immediate stall. So that's as slow as the airplane will fly clean. And this is for landing, and it's the same for landing as well. There's on the next page, there's landing there. An immediate stall. So this is flying right at the edge, right? So that was brought in because of people like NAFI and SAFE who thought that flight instructors really need to have more, need not be timid when it comes to stalls and when it comes to slow flight. You know, most of the flight instructors that we have who are just coming out of training have about 10 hours of solo time. That's it. They've been on an airplane by themselves 10 hours. And no wonder they're afraid of things, stalls, slow flight. They don't want to, because they don't have been in the airplane by themselves enough to get enough good experience. So you need a lot more experience than that. But that's what we're getting. And so, so they're saying, you know, we need to fix this timidness and get on with it, right? So that's what this is. And this is also a demonstration of a higher level of skill because the slower you go, the harder it gets, right? That's kind of how it is. And so, again, this is not teaching people to fly. The private pilot curriculum commercial doesn't have this in it. It says the other thing, which is flight at which would result in a stall warning, right? That's because we're teaching people not to fly with warning devices act. Like if you had an annunciator light, you're not supposed to just ignore it. You're supposed to do something about it. Same with the stall warning horn. That was the idea. All right, moving on. Now we have in the CFI program, there are stalls and that have to be typical stalls, power on, power off, but there are demonstration stalls. These mean that you have to demonstrate these. You don't have to teach them. So the demonstration stalls are accelerated stall, elevator trim stall, a cross-controlled stall, and secondary stall. So all those other ones that I just mentioned up to this one, so all this accelerated, the elevator trim, and the cross-controlled stall can be done to first indication. First indication of a stall. But this one, secondary stall, change, right? Now you have to, if the secondary stall is chosen, you have to recover promptly and appropriately after the stall occurs. So it actually have to be a full stall for this one. So just so you know, so if you're, depending on how you're practicing these. And yeah, okay, there's all that. Moving on, let's move on to the next slide. Significant change on the renewal reinstatement. So this is a big change. It's the DPE. If you're reinstating or say renewing is your CFI is not yet expired and you want to renew by flight test, by a check ride, you can do that. And some people do that. Like I would do that every time when I was at DPE, they would renew my CFI based upon me flying with them on proficiency rides. So they would do that. So that you could do that. And reinstatements are your certificate has expired and now you need it back again for some reason. So by the way, word to the wise, please don't let your certificate expire, even if you don't ever think you're going to use it. There are plenty of people that have come to our place who have done an awful lot of work and paid a lot of money for something that they didn't have to really do. Now, did they really need the training? Yeah, I think so. If you fly for an airline and you come and that's all you've done, you come back into general aviation, you don't know enough about this at all. It's a different world, babe. Same as your world's different. It's way different. There's too much to know and so refresher, but refresher almost needs do over in a lot of ways. Not everything, but so anyway, but here this is very interesting because it says if a double asterisk, and this is for the fundamentals instructing area of operation one, and there's more tasks in there. I just copied it to this, but directs the evaluator to consider the period of inactivity. So if you've been working for United for 20 years, I have to consider the period of activity and say, you probably don't know much about the FOI, so I'm going to have to retest it. So then you're allowed now to test it. That wasn't the case in the previous PTS version. It just never was tested. It could be, but it was never. And now it directs the evaluator to consider the period of activity. The evaluator may test the FOI task for any reinstatement. There you go. So now we're going to have people coming in to reinstate. They're going to have to go through the FOI that otherwise they didn't really have to do as part of our reinstatement course. If you're reinstating, we have sort of a captain's course, we call it, online course, and then you come in and do what you need. Now we got to cover the FOI, just in case that happens, especially if it's been a while. All right, so if you just let your CFI expire, you were current, you missed the date, probably not going to need to test the FOI. But if it's been a while, then there you go. All right, so look at that. So here's technical subject areas, just some notes on this. In area of operation 2, which is technical, so all the ground knowledge is contained within 4 areas of operation, area of 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 is a minor one, but we'll show you in a second. So area of operation 2, area of operation 1 was the fundamentals of instructing, and I kind of already went through that a little bit, but then there's some slides here on it. But anyway, task E is aircraft flight controls and operation systems. This used to be 2 separate tasks. Now they're combined into one task. So it's not a huge thing, but you can see there are slight differences in terminology. Then now on task H, navigation and radar systems, now includes the transponder modes, being able to explain A, C, and S, and also ADS-B, when it's required and what it is and that kind of thing. That shouldn't give you too much grief, but there. Also, the technical subject areas task J is 14 CFR and publications, and now includes infos and SAFOs to be tested. If you don't know what those are, so information for operators and safety alerts for operators, and they're documents that. So the info is like to help you understand, not an AC, it's to help you comply with something or do something better. And a SAFO is something that's safety of flight related. You should change your procedure, do something to align yourself with the SAFO, like the VA when they talked about. No, that was an airworthiness bulletin. There are other. I'll just that you can look at these later, but these are going to be tested now. So I've modified our course to include infos and SAFOs and examples of those. So that's in this course coming up. I've aligned everything to this ACS. So whoever's coming into the class for Vegas, you will have it'll be that, and May will also be that. So it'll be aligned with the ACS and the PTS. I'll just point out the differences like this. Okay, then under endorsements, K, endorsements of logbook entries now includes special flight rules areas and Class B endorsements and requirements for CFI renewal and reinstatements. So there's Class B endorsements required for student pilots, for sport pilots, recreational pilots, right? So that's there could be. And then SFRs, so special FARs, right? So not special flight rules areas, special FARs, SFARs. So that could be for the Mitsubishi airplane, for the Robinsons, for the this or that. Then those go away supposed to go away after a period of time. And then CFI renewal reinstatements. Okay, then they broke out in the high altitude operations. They separated the tasks. Now there's one section, task N or MN, yeah, on supplemental oxygen. And the next task is pressurization. They're separate, and there's more detail in them. So there's actually a lot more detail in the oxygen stuff and a little bit in the pressurization. So you can look at that. This is what what the ACS looks like, and basically how to interpret it. So if I show you just what an ACS looks like, this is one task: performance and limitations. So the way the ACS is formatted is there's an area of operation, which is a broad sort of topic that everything that's related to this falls under. So pre-flight preparation. That could mean a lot of things, you know. And then what they do then is they take at below area of operation one, there'll be task A, B, C, D, however many there are. This is task F. So, and it's here, task F, performance and limitations. The next thing is the references. So these are the references where the information is contained to be able to, for training and to be able to answer the questions that may come from this particular, whatever it is, these knowledge areas. So these you should have, right? These right here, right? And then there's an objective here. So let's see objective. And then there's knowledge areas, risk management, and skills. So let's take a look at what that means. So knowledge, by the way, CFIs have to train every single knowledge area, every single risk management, every single skill. The evaluator on DP or inspector needs to just pick one knowledge area for testing, one risk management, all the skills. So, and the way these are coded, these are tied now directly to the knowledge test. So one of the things that's come up is like, well, I took my knowledge test. Do I need to retake it when the ACS changes? The answer is no. Then the issue is the knowledge tests that are going to be given after the 31st of May are going to have these codes for what you missed instead of PLT codes, which is what you currently have, learning statement codes. So, so these are very specific. And so the PLT codes are kind of broad. So they made a matrix that allows you to say, okay, these are the PLT codes. These really refer to these codes now, so that the evaluator or you can figure out what you might be further tested on because you that question. So that's in a document called FAA guidance. So anyway, but it does you'll be able to find it easily. So for example, these are coded. So when you get something wrong, either you fail the test on this or you get it wrong on the that question wrong on the knowledge test, it's going to have this code. This means CA means commercial pilot airplane. Air of operation 1, that's 1.1 is this one, air of operation 1. Task F, which is here, and knowledge nugget or knowledge area, this one, and that's this thing. So you can go right straight to the ACS and see pretty precisely what the question content was. And so, and if you fail a test, so now we can correlate, the FAA can correlate now knowledge test to, and I really wish they would, these knowledge tests are, yeah, I'll take a break because I'm going to need it, right? So these are not tests. So when you are all proud that you got a 98, if you didn't get a 98, you didn't try hard enough. There's no reason for you not to get a 98 because all the questions are known and all the answers. It's not a test if that's the case. For my students, when they come in, I tell them please don't do test prep yet. You know, I understand you want to get I understand that. What I want to do is I want you to take a practice test and give me the results of that. That's what you really know. If you don't know the questions and answers, that's a test, right? So let's do that. And then we'll make a plan to fix all that, whatever that is. Then you can go test prep all you want, right? Because otherwise it's not a reflection of what you know. Okay, it can be, but it typically isn't. All right, so let's take a break and go through the room here. Let's do that. So let's see. We got about 70 people, 60 something. Okay. So I got the Peñas here. The Peñas are here. We've got who else is here? Bruce Ray, the Bruces. Oh, they're here. Both the Bruces. They all come right on the chat run or in the participants right one after the other. One's in Chicago and the other's in Colorado. Okay. And then we got Cliff. Yeah, it's here. I don't see the other one. There's no Clifton. Uh-oh, he's gone. Let's see. He ran. Okay. Then we got David St. George is here. Excellent. He's executive director of SAFE. Don Knight's here. I see you. Looking. So Felix is here. He's a previous student. Gary Weaver's here. Gary Weaver from Youngstown, Ohio. I got who else is in here? Johns. I don't know the Johns that I think of, but some new people. What if you got Lee here? Lee Perrin from Massachusetts. We have Oliver from Santa Cruz area, Watsonville, California. We got Phil Bloom. Oh, Phil's in the class. Hi, Phil. Ron Klutz. Oh my word, look at that. The Ron Klutz captain. He used to he used to work for Apple. No, yes, and he was a prototype machinist. He now I think he still works now. He works for Google, same kind of thing. But we would always ask him. We'd ask Ron Klutz. We'd say, "Hey, Ron," because he did all the prototyping for all the iPhones, right? And so he said, what's the iPhone 7 going to have on it?" He would go, like, "iPhone 7?" He would never, he was so, but I think they threw in some red rogues in there, So, hey, if you're going to talk about it, we'll know you talked about it because this thing isn't really going to ever happen. But you're talking about it, we know you're leaking. So yeah, he never would say anything. So there you go. He was in our CFI class a long time ago. And we got Stephanie here. Stephanie, sorry, from Frederick, Maryland. And they have a twin Technum that they do training in. It's one of those Technum Italian airplanes, a nice looking airplane. And anyway, they're in Frederick, Maryland. Frederick, Maryland, home of AOPA. So if you need some training, I think they have a backup airplane, Aztec or something in there too. No Rogue, all real. Oh, really? All real prototypes. Ron tells me he's right on it right now. He's like, I'm not letting you get away with saying that about me. This is a Soledad from the Dominican Republic. Yeah, you just can't talk about it. Yeah, there you go. I'd talk about it. I wouldn't be able to be quiet. That's why I'm not a good. I'm not a good. I don't hold secrets very well. Not really. Not really. Vincent's here from a city. He's from New York City, from Brooklyn, and he's a flight instructor there. And I think Wendell's got to be here. Walt's here. Hello, Walt. Wendell, yeah, and Zoan is here. So she was flight flight instructor of the region or something. I forgot. It's one of the Redbird Migration AOPA's flight training excellence awards. She received one of those, and so did Amber. I see Amber Peterson, right? And I saw you. I saw you at the top of the list here. Amber was in a previous class. Oh no. Anyway, she was a flight instructor of the region in the Minnesota area. Okay, moving on. Let's step on through what we need to do so I don't run out of time. So let me go back to this thing. Okay, that's the end of that one. Now, the rest of them I'm going to just show you. So I think I've solved the mystery of the instrument PTS, which let me get off this thing. And don't save. And let me share something else. Ooh, I'm full frame now, huh? That scared you. All right, let's see. Acrobat, looks like this one. Okay. Oops, I need to change something. Change something. This and this. Okay, so this we already saw was the order, which says that this ACS can be used today if they want to use it, but they do have to tell you. So it does tell you here. If either party does not agree which testing document to be used, then it will be the PTS until the ACS becomes effective. So that's basically what that says. Okay. Now let's move on down here. So I have included in your pack there that the not the pack, but the in the chat you will see this. So it says not for public use because it's the same ACS. The date was the same, 25, but the 25 document. But I did it when it was in draft form before it was released as an official ACS. That was back in like November. So I commented on it on the document. So I sent you that. It has all the comments that we talked about today, plus some expanded things. And I sort of highlighted it in various places and, did some various work on it. So you can see these comments if you open up an Adobe Acrobat, and then you'll be able to see all that, right? So where there's changes, I kind of noted those, and you can step through them if you want to that way. So that's the complete document for the change document, which still stands. I'm still standing behind that, I think. The other one was this one. There's a companion guide now. So because I was one of the comments I made during the public comment period was, where's the checklist for the student? Remember that checklist would say that you could use a flight plan. It's paper or electronic. And it said charts, paper or electronic. And then it had this, where is that, right? It wasn't in any of the ACSs. So then it turns out it's in this guide, which is common or supposed to be used for all ACSs. So this is a companion guide. So you can, this is in the document that I sent, which all the ACSs in one. It's there already. It's the first document. So you have it already. So it tells you some things to know here. So let's look at it. This is all knowledge test stuff. Doesn't really matter. When we come into section 3, it matters. So let's go to section 3. Okay, should be risk management. So they basically said what they did. They changed, right? So they changed. Yeah, let me grab it here. So they said that these words, like failure to use proper checklist for system or equipment malfunction, should sound like a skill to them. They said it really wasn't risk managers. Like we're supposed to check for that, right? That they failed to. So what they did was they retitled these. So if you look at the new one, you'll see that they don't really say that anymore. They say this: checklist usage for a system or equipment malfunction, distractions, task priority. So these aren't specific. That shouldn't be in the skills section. So they rewrote a lot of those. I don't think it's going to change a lot. I don't think so, but you might want to, if you're studying for a test and you say, well, this is the same ACS as I had, all the points are the same with the knowledge and the skill, have a look at the risk management section and see that that it isn't different, because here I don't think you have the startle response up here either. No. So they changed some things and also retitled certain things. So that's worth noting, right? So we've got that. And then these are all the references for all the, and then at the end of it, which I wanted to get to, which is this thing. Hello. This is what you're responsible to know, just so you know. All of that. Like each one of those docs is probably 20, 30 pages each. So you got, this is the checklist, right? That was missing. I thought was missing. It's just common to every rating, so they put it here. So if you look down, you can see it says current aeronautical charts, printed electronic. And remember, in the public comments section, I said, look, if you're going to make that checklist, right now the chart supplements doesn't say printed or electronic, doesn't say anything. So now it says printed or electronic. Ching. All right. And by the way, when these people make me absolutely mental when they insist upon paper. It makes me crazy. So it makes me so crazy that I did a whole presentation of Redbird migration on it, right? So yeah, I had people sitting in the room like this, their arms all folded. I don't care. I'll choke on it. Right, here you go. So yeah, the reason is I say, what's the original? I said, don't you always want to fly with the original? I said, what you have a paper copy. That's a copy. That's not original. That was printed from this electronic thing that I have. It's not typeset anymore, so that's not original. You don't have an original copy. I do. The electronic one is the original copy. Okay, there you go. So enough of that, right? So anyway, here's this down here. So that's now where this is, right? So if you're looking for that. And then I'll answer the questions here in a second, because give me a few more minutes I want to step through the instrument one with you now, which is going to be here. So, if you look at the previous ACS, I know, don't read this. It's the very thing I tell you not to do when you're presenting this. In fact, I'm going to kill it because you read it, right? And then you don't listen to me. And in the class setting, by the way, if you're one tip, note to self, is if you're teaching something, please don't have a bunch of text behind you. If you make a PowerPoint slide, don't have a bunch of sentences and paragraphs, and that's not where it goes. It goes in speaker notes. You just have limited amounts of things, because the student will just look at it and they'll read it. They'll find something interesting. You'll talk and they won't hear what you say. So don't do that, right? So I just did it, but anyway, there you go. So what I wanted to say, let me tell you, then I'll show you what it says. So in the previous version of the ACS for instrument, the last one, it said that you could substitute for a precision approach, and you could substitute an LPV approach as long as the DA was not higher than 300 feet, not higher than 300 feet. It said that in words, right? Then I looked through here and I said, that statement's missing, because I wanted to see if that was there. It's not there anymore. So does that mean that you can't do an LPV approach in lieu of an ILS? And the answer is no, you still can do it. In fact, there's no minimums anymore. So I want to show you now. Now that I've said it, I want to show you where you got to say, show me the proof. Show me the proof. Okay, I'm going to show you. Okay, I promise I'll show you right now. I found it. So I didn't understand it. It's here under precision approach. It says the applicant must accomplish a precision approach to decision altitude using aircraft navigation equipment for centerline and vertical guidance and simulator actual meteorological conditions. A precision approach, they define it now. A precision approach is a standard instrument approach, which an LPV is, procedure to a published decision altitude using provided approved vertical guidance. Doesn't say anything about 300 feet anymore. So that's going to free up a lot of places we couldn't use before, like in the Phoenix Valley. A lot of those DAs are 310, 350. They couldn't use them. Now that's not the case anymore. It's right here. And they define what a precision approach is in this document. So Little going against ICAO there, but they got away with it. So there you go. Not good. The rest of the stuff was the same. So that's a section. Also in the circle to land, in this particular one, it said you needed to move there to downwind or base leg. Now it just says downwind. So you got to maneuver to the downwind leg. Okay, so that's as far as you actually have to go in a circling approach. But and that brings up, even more. That's the hardest thing. And I have some conflictions on that too. So maybe some of you can take this on. Maybe but let me explain my dilemma with it. So when you do an approach, it's a circling approach. It doesn't have a specific runway. Excuse me, like Tracy Airport comes to mind in California. So if you do an approach, RNAV approach to it, it's going to leave you with no specific runway. And it says circle, and it's not authorized on the west side of the airport, which is where the traffic pattern is for VFR. That is where the traffic pattern is, left traffic runway 30. But you're not allowed to circle over there. So when you come down to minimums on a VFR practice approach on a check ride or whatever you're doing, you can't just blast across there at 500, 600 feet. Well, you can do that altitude, but you can't make right traffic for that airport because they're using left traffic, right? So then there's a legal interpretation on this, right? So then it says, yes, you're right, you can't do it. However, if ATC authorizes it, you can. All right. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. I guess I would maybe see if they would know what I was asking for when I ask them, and enough time for them to approve it or not. But then there's a new AC. It's out on non-towered operations, non-towered airports, and it says that you don't have priority if you're IFR. You don't have priority over VFR traffic. He says you should conform with the traffic pattern. It says, but you could fly the procedure if it doesn't authorize you to circle on the other side. You don't have to. You can circle the other way. So those two documents are kind of confliction. So we can look at it maybe as a separate topic, but anyway, that's something I found. It was in the non-towered operations and IFR traffic. It's under IFR traffic section. I don't have it pulled up, but I wanted to bring it out because a lot of times when we're teaching the IPC, how to structure an IPC, part circle lands in there, and so many things are in there. So that's one of the things that two things are in confliction. All right, moving on forward. Got that. The private one, the only thing significant changes I saw were in the risk management changes, as we said before, and the fact that you can use electronic flight planning. That's been, so that's not a significant change. The commercial was the same. I didn't see any changes here except for in risk management. There was one. No, I think it said that before. So I don't know if you know about steep spirals, but the steep spirals, it says not just 3 turns. It says at least 3 turns. So yeah, it's the only ground reference maneuver. Kind of, it's a performance maneuver. It's in the performance maneuver ground reference section, but it's considered a performance maneuver. It has a ground reference component to it. Basically, if you don't know what a steep spiral is, you're to pick a point on the ground, and you're to circle around it up to bank angles up to 60 degrees for at least 3 turns at a constant airspeed, a glide speed, it says. And then after 3 turns or so, you roll out on the same heading that you started with. And the idea then is that you have to accommodate wind over that ground reference object. And the higher you are, of course, the less you have to fiddle with it because you don't see the effect of wind at 5,000, 6,000 feet very well. You do when you get low to the ground. So anyway, this ground reference maneuver, you enter upwind. If you look at the only place you'll ever find that, by the way, is from the 1965 flight training handbook from the FAA. So they said then why? And so when you're done with it, you're straight down the gut of the airplane or the runway, and you can land, or you can abbreviate the pattern, and that was the reason for it. So anyway, it's entered upwind. All the other ground references are entered downwind. Why is that? Why would you enter a ground reference? Why would it be preferable to enter a ground reference maneuver downwind? Well, the reason is this, right? If I say that I want to maintain a half mile from this pylon, if I'm doing turns around a point, and I enter on the upwind, and I say, oh, I need 30 degrees of bank right here to do that. Well, then the bank angle is going to increase the entire way around because you're going to have a tailwind, more of a tailwind, and finally downwind. So you may end up with a bank of 60, 65 degrees being necessary to keep that distance that you wanted. And that's not good because the PTS, ACS restricts you to 45 degrees. So if you start downwind, that's the steepest bank you're ever going to have. So if it requires 45 degrees to maintain a half mile, you've got it. If it's not possible, you're drifting and you say, well, it looks like it's going to be 3/4, then you can use less bank angle to maintain the 3/4 mile spacing around the pylon. That's why. So, but in this thing, you can use up to 60 degrees in steep spiral, and you're doing it upwind. So you got to be a little careful with this thing. And so one of the things you can do for fun, I know you have tons of free time like me, right? All you have is when you're studying for your CFI, I know you want extra information. I know you just can't wait to get that, right? But one of the exercises I did for the steep spiral and for all the maneuvers is, and it started because of this. If you go to a 172 November model, next time you look at one, and you look on the side of the air, when you sit in the pilot seat, and you look on the side, there's a placard over there. And the placard talks about loading of the airplane, and it talks about utility category being required for chandelles and lazy eights. If you've done a chandelle and lazy eight, you'll find they're pretty benign things. The chandelle is not a box canyon turn, by the way. You wouldn't want to use that for that. You just want to stick up as hard as you can and pivot on the tail, right? Get slow as possible radius. That thing's not doing you any good. So you don't need to climb when you reversed. You already cleared that. So you need to get out of the way. You need to slow down. What you need to do. So and then there's the lazy eight is pretty lazy, but it was done 60 degrees of bank before, 70. 80 degrees of bank before. So those had to be in utility category. Now, not so much. And the chandelle was a 2.5 G pull. You pulled almost on the vertical. You pulled hard, 2.5, and you pivoted on the tail. That's chandelle. So yeah, that needs to be in utility category. Not now. So then I was like, why, what's all the changes been? So I started with the current airplane flying handbook, and then I went back to the previous one, and I read all those maneuvers again. And there are things in there that aren't in there today. Like in the 2004 version of the airplane flying handbook, it talks about how to control the airspeed in the steep spiral. They'll say, if you make a steep bank turn, you've got to lower the nose because you're introducing drag and more load factor, and the airspeed is going to slow. So if you don't lower the nose, counterintuitive, right? And as you decrease the bank, you have to raise the nose, and the airspeed is the first thing to go in a steep spiral. So that never made it into the new version. But if you keep reading back, 1984 version and this one and that one, you get the whole picture of it. And you say, oh, I see. Like the steep spiral was supposed to be more than 10 turns, right? And it was so that two things, that number one, you'd be able to be over the spot you're on, but the next thing was to cure pilots' vertigo, because they said anybody can do this 3 turns, but do it 10, 15 times, you'll see pilots will get vertigo. So they got to be trained out of you. So there you go. That's just for that. So that's what's in here. I wanted to look at some of the chat here really quickly. So let me bring that out, make that primary here. Again, the documents that I have put through, there's 2 of them. One is called ACS or CFI ACS change document. That goes through all the changes I talked about today. You're also going to get a PDF copy of the presentation that I used. So that goes through the CFI flight instructor one. Then I also have the second document, which is in the chat, is the ACS single file. So that has the companion guide. It has the flight instructor ACS, private, instrument, and commercial in one document. So I think that's kind of handy to have. There's that. Okay, let's see who else is having. So, I'm not in Sun and Fun. The reason for that, that's Joseph, because I had too much travel. It's just like, it's getting too much, right? So I had eye surgery last week, whatever, the second, and I had to stay there for up until the 6th. And then after that, then I have to go to Las Vegas 1 week later. Not even, so that's tomorrow, right? And then Sun and Fun was in the way, and I'm like, how am I going to get there? Spend 2 days there? I don't know. So I didn't spend time there. The 8900 is, the FAA order is the 8900.691. So orders from the FAA are operational instructions. Basically, there's an order for DPs, there's an order for inspectors, there's an order for air traffic control. So a lot of times they don't mess around with the regulation. They want to mess around with that. They just produce it as an order and clarification on some things. Like, I don't know if you know this, but you can take your CFI test without having a medical certificate. Huh? Yeah, you say, no, that's not right. You look at the FAR and there's, no, it's not right. But if you look at the DP order, you'll find out that the medical is not required, but that would require the DP to be pilot command. So good luck. They might do that, but you don't necessarily need one. In fact, there was a DP did one because I told them they could, and then the FAA rejected the application. And then she panicked because the FSDO said, why are you doing a test with no medical? and I showed the order, and then they copied that to Oak City, and then they issued the certificate. So so you don't need that, but that's in the order. That's in the 8900.2 order. So this is the 8900.691. It's very short. It's this thing. Let's go here to it. I'll just show it to you while I have a chance. This one, in case you joined late. This is the order right here. It's national policy. That's the reason for the order given. And it's using the ACS when it's effective. And basically what it says in the order here, it says that the ACS can be used from today forward if the DP and you want to use it. You don't have to wait until May 31st. And in fact, if the DP says, I'm going to use this new document, you both have to agree on that, but you can use that document. So I don't think I think it's easier to train with the ACS than it is with the PTS because more detail in it. And the more detail you have, the more you know, right? The more you know what you need to know. So I like it. I'm not part of that at all. Okay, that's one. Okay, then Ron Klutz there. This is where can I find the PTS to ACS matrix you mentioned about? So it should be, I believe we'll find it in the companion guide. So this one, no, not this one. This one. Let's see. I think it's in here. Let me go to the table of contents quickly. Give me 1 second. And then we got 5 minutes. And I'm going to open up the room. So we got time. It's just that I only have the recording of the thing done for this first hour. So I'll make sure that we hit the high notes, so to speak. Here. Knowledge test codes during transition from PTS to ACS, page 5 here. And so it will tell us what to do here. So you can read that. That's where it is. Okay. Okay. And PSI, by the way, is gone, right? They sold. So to another company. Well, that's probably a good thing. Probably is a good thing. Okay, moving on. Let's see the rest of this. Will you send this document out, the current ACS and pilot guide? Yeah. So I'm going to send you the PDF. It's in of the PowerPoint. So it's not a PowerPoint. It's a PDF of the PowerPoint, which is fine. That's what you kind of want anyway. And then there is what else? And then you'll have those two documents there in the chat. So be sure you download those. Now I'm not sure when Nick puts together the recap. I think it'll be on the website. I need to show you that too, really quickly, because let me just do this. Oh, hi, David. Okay, good. He likes my job. He's at Sun and Fun, I think. Also on page 24 of the ACS briefing PDF, it states there is no one-to-one correlation between learning statement codes and ACS codes. Oh, yes, that's right. They're not. Okay, so that's that. So we know that now. So we can read that and see what they say, right? There's some guidance here. Okay, so I want to go to our website because I need to show you something that you'll want. Probably some of you will, not all of you. Not everybody, but some of you will. So give me a second till I head over there. And what I'm going to show you is if you'd like to attend part of our half a day or so of our CFI class that's coming up, anyone's coming up, you can do that for free. It's so we can, show you like, is this crap or what? What is this you doing all the time, right? So I'll show you it. So let me go to the correct share here. This one. Okay. Okay, so this is our website, which you've seen probably. Under resources here, there's going to be Power Hour outline. That's what we're looking for. Get rid of that. Okay, right here is Power Hour outline catalog. Right, I want to show you this. Okay, this is every sort of every Power Hour we do, we make something from it. So let me see if this one has it in it. This is the last one we did. I'll click it. So there's a quick video. Oh, yes. And if you look here, this is where the 7-day preview is. So if you click this, like free trial, free now, and you put your email, whatever it is, then it'll tell you when the next class is that you can make. So if you can't make this one, which is live in Las Vegas, these are the other ones coming up. And you can register for those. And we have to make sure that we have enough space. I can't have like 100 people online, right? It doesn't make any sense. So I can do like 15, 20, 30, 10, but I can't do 100. So I have to kind of limit that. That's why it's there. So that's where it's at. So if I go just back quickly to the step, here you go to our website, CFIBootcamp.com. You go to resources. You go to PHL, Power Hour Lesson Outline Catalog. And then pick any of these, particularly this one, last one. If the one doesn't have it, then you go to another one, it'll have it. And you'll find it here. That's where it's at. So if you want to preview that, and I forgot the topic, but it's going to be something good. It's usually something about student pilot regulations, the whole entire student pilot regulations with endorsements, scenarios, that kind of thing. Or it could be something, I don't know, it could be something else. I have to see what it is this time. But it'll be worth it no matter. If you're in the CFI study mode, this is what you want to do. Okay, so we're about ready to close out. I got 2 minutes left. So I would just say if there's anything else here that I want to cover in the ACSs, I don't think so. So well, and like I say, I'll open up the room right afterwards, so you can stick around if you want to, and make comments if you want. If you know something I don't, please chime in and say it. Right? There's no, I don't have any ego about that. Oh, I have a lot of ego. You know, I do. I have it, but I don't have any when it comes to you telling me I said something wrong or it's not there like you said, or this is what I know. I'm all good with all that. Right? It gives me something to listen to. I don't want to be the expert. Well, I do want to be the expert, but I want to be schooled if I'm wrong. Get some schooling in you. All right, so let me get everything ready to close out. And if you'll stick around, if you stick around, I'll open up the room so you'll all be unmuted if you want. I don't know if that's a good thing, but we'll do it anyway. We always do it, right? We do it, and then you can say whatever you want. I just need to bring up the closeout stuff here, and I guess that's kind of where I'll leave it for today. So hopefully that answered most of your questions. Other question comes up is we do have a newsletter and we have a podcast. So the podcast is a video podcast. So these are once a month. So you can go to our website and you can find information on how to subscribe to our newsletter. It's a once a month thing, and there's always an offer or something in there. It's pretty good. So if you're in the flight training side and you want kind of a deal on something, you'll probably find it in there. Probably. Also, Power Hour. If you know other people who could benefit from that, then I would tell them we're trying to grow it up to at least 100 and something. If we can do that, we can get better. Like we had AOPA on a few weeks ago with the legal services. Went through a lot of good stuff. We have a lot of people come on, but and ForeFlight comes, and so various things. But we can do better if we have a bigger audience. We start off with Gary Weaver. There was 12 of us, the first one, and now there's around 70, 80, sometimes 100, 95. It depends in this region. So that's what we've got going on. Okay, so then I think that's what I wanted to say. And then again, I'll open up the room so it'll be fine. And I will see the rest of you next Saturday live from Las Vegas at VGT for this big, what do you call the guy? Giant CFI class. I guess we're okay, or people wouldn't keep coming, right? That's probably the reason. All right.